Let's be honest. Most guys spend more time researching creatine flavors or arguing about training splits than checking the metrics that actually predict how long they'll be around to do them. If you don't know me, my name is Dr. Poulos. I'm a medical doctor, men's health coach. I help busy, high performers lose fat, build strength, and optimize their health for the long haul. I spent the last decade studying the science of longevity, testing it on myself and my clients, and this video breaks down the biomarkers that actually matter if you want to live longer and better without wasting time on the fluff. So longevity isn't just about clean eating and cold plunges. It's about data, hard numbers, biomarkers that tell you if your body is holding up like a classic Porsche or quietly rusting under the hood. In this deep dive, we're going to break down the most powerful predictors of longevity and health span. Some are functional, things you can feel, train, and measure with your Apple Watch. Others are molecular markers hidden in your blood that whisper, hey buddy, might be time to slow down on those double espressos. And we're not just guessing here. These are the metrics that science consistently links to a longer, stronger, and sharper life. If you want to live better, not just longer, these are the biomarkers to track. So let's start with the ones I covered last week on Instagram. If you missed that post, here is the expanded version with a little bit more data and context. So starting with VO2 max, which is honestly one of the most powerful predictors. If you only tracked one number for longevity, VO2 max might be it. It measures how much oxygen your body can use during intense exercise. In plain English, it is your cardio engine. The bigger it is, the longer you last, literally. One study in JAMA Network Open looked at over 120,000 adults and found that higher VO2 max levels were associated with significantly lower all-cause mortality. The fittest group, the elite VO2 max people, had nearly a 500% lower risk of early death compared to the least fit. That is not a typo. To put it into perspective, having low VO2 max is a stronger risk factor for death than smoking, diabetes, or high blood pressure. Crazy. The best part is that this is highly trainable. Zone 2 cardio, interval training, rucking, sprinting. Pick your poison here. Improving VO2 max is one of the most reliable ways to increase both health span and lifespan. It's also one of the first things I optimize with my coaching clients because again, it's measurable, trainable, and transformative. And if you are interested in learning a little bit more about working with me to optimize your body composition, health status, energy levels, productivity, feel free to book a diagnostic call with me in the link in the description below. So number 2, we have waist to height ratio. We've heard for decades that BMI is flawed, and it is. I've been obese for most of my life, and I don't think I'm obese. Waist to height ratio is a better predictor of metabolic disease, cardiovascular risk, and all-cause mortality. Here's how it works. Take your waist measurement at the narrowest point or at your belly button and divide it by your height. Keep it under 0.5 and you're in a good spot. A high waist to height ratio usually means more visceral fat, the dangerous kind that wraps around your organs, fuels chronic inflammation, and quietly raises your risk for heart disease, stroke, and insulin resistance. And visceral fat isn't always visible. You can look normal in the mirror, but be a metabolic time bomb underneath. This simple measurement can be a red flag before your blood work even shows it, so make sure that you're testing this and you're at a good ratio. Next, we have your resting heart rate. This is the number of times your heart beats per minute when you are completely at rest. Think of it as your cardiovascular idle speed. Lower is generally better, indicating better cardiac efficiency and parasympathetic tone. Studies show that for every 10 BPM increase in resting heart rate, the risk of mortality increases by 10 to 20%. People with a resting heart rate over 80 have significantly higher risk of cardiovascular disease and premature death compared to those with a resting heart rate in the 50s to 60s. Track this with a smartwatch, a fitness tracker, or just manually first thing in the morning. If it's higher than usual, might be a sign of overtraining, stress, poor recovery, or something a little bit more serious. So this is just a good one to have a handle on. Moving on to heart rate variability, or HRV. This measures the tiny variations between your heartbeats. Contrary to what you might think, more variability between your heartbeats is actually better. So instead of it being like boom, 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 that is like very low variability, you want it to be something a little bit more like boom, 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 boom. That's a lot of variability, but I think you get the point here. High variability means that your body can quickly adapt to stress, both physical and emotional. Low HRV is linked to higher risk of cardiovascular events, poorer stress resilience, and worse recovery. Think of HRV as your nervous system's flexibility score. The higher it is, the better you're recovering and responding to your environment. The lower it is, the more you're trending towards chronic stress and sympathetic dominance, which is that fight or flight mode. Elite athletes actually use HRV to guide training, but for everyone else, it can be a daily signal for when to push and when to rest. And the cool part, interventions like quality sleep, meditation, aerobic exercise, sauna use, and even social connection can improve your HRV over time. It's dynamic, and you can train this. Next, we have grip strength, and this might seem like a weird flex, literally, but it's one of the strongest functional predictors of all-cause mortality. Studies show that lower grip strength is associated with higher risk of heart disease, strokes, fractures, cognitive decline, and early death, and not by a small margin. One meta-analysis showed that for every 5 kilogram decrease in grip strength, there was a 17% higher risk of mortality, even after adjusting for age, body size, and comorbidities. It reflects overall neuromuscular health, coordination, and even your brain's integrity. Because it declines before other markers, it's a great early warning system. You really don't need any fancy equipment here, just a grip dynamometer. You could buy one of those, or even just something practical like doing farmer's walks, heavy deadlifts, or anything that tests your grip. If you can open jars with ease into your 70s, you're probably doing something right. Now that we've covered a lot of the physical stuff that you can measure, let's talk about some of the invisible stuff. And these are the blood-based and cellular markers that give you a deeper look under the hood, things that can predict disease before symptoms even show up. They're newer, more expensive, a little less familiar, but they are changing the game. So we have here epigenetic clocks, aka DNA methylation age. This measures how your genes are expressed. Not your genes themselves, but how they're being turned on or off. And sorry, now that we're talking about genes, I'm thinking about that Sydney Sweeney commercial. Anyway, over time, environmental exposures, lifestyle, and aging shifts these methylation patterns. The result is a biological age estimate that may be older or younger than your calendar age. Horvath's clock, Grimm age, Pheno age. These aren't Marvel villains. They're DNA methylation-based tools that estimate your biological age and predict lifespan with pretty crazy precision. Horvath's clock is the OG, based purely on methylation. Pheno age adds clinical blood markers to better reflect physical function. Grimm age is the other one. This one predicts time to death based on methylation and mortality-linked proteins in your body. It's like having a ticking clock over your head, but kind of like in spreadsheet form. So basically, if your biological age is 38 and your actual age is 45, you're doing good. If the opposite is true, it might be time to rethink the ultra-processed snacks and 4-hour sleep nights. Next, we have telomere lengths. Telomeres are like the little plastic tips on the ends of your shoelaces, except they protect your chromosomes instead of your shoelaces. So every time your cells divide, your telomeres become a little bit shorter. When they get too short, the cell either dies or turns into a zombie or a senescent cell that secretes a lot of inflammatory junk. Short telomeres are actually associated with cardiovascular disease, cancer, and accelerated aging. But here's the nuance. Longer isn't always better. Very long telomeres can be a risk for uncontrolled growth, like cancer. So bottom line, aim for healthy, not immortal telomeres. Sleep, nutrition, stress, exercise, all these things help. Now for number 3, we have proteomic and organ age biomarkers. This is some of the stuff that biohacker Brian Johnson tests. This is like bleeding age stuff. Scientists are now measuring the proteins in your blood to estimate how old specific organs are. Your brain, heart, kidneys, immune system, and how well they're functioning relative to your age. A Stanford-led study analyzing plasma from over 50,000 people found that brain age was one of the strongest predictors of death, even more than heart or immune system age. People with an older brain were 12 times more likely to develop dementia and had a nearly 2 times higher risk of death over the next 15 years. This data is still new, expensive, but companies are already rolling out consumer versions of these tests. There's one startup called Vero, V-E-R-O, that claims to measure 5 key organ systems using AI and proteomics, predicting biological decline earlier than traditional tests. I'm not affiliated with any of these are just the ones I know off the top of my brain. So soon you won't just ask, how's my cholesterol? You'll ask, how old is my brain? So number 4, we have inflammatory markers and immune senescence chronic low-grade inflammation, also called inflammaging. This is one of the root drivers of aging and disease. Markers like IL-6, CRP, TNF-alpha, IL-1 tell you whether your immune system is simmering beneath the surface. Higher levels are linked to frailty, cognitive decline, even depression, and again, cardiovascular disease. As we age, the immune system becomes less responsive to infection, but paradoxically more prone to chronic inflammation. Senescent immune cells clog up the system, creating a whole lot of dysfunction. So tracking inflammatory markers and advanced immune profiling like CD8+ T-cell senescence may become a major part of personalized longevity care in the future, But again, this is a little bit expensive, so not accessible to the average person all the time. So again, here's a recap of the top biomarkers to pay attention to. We have VO2 max, which is the cardiorespiratory fitness king. Train it, test it. Waist-height ratio, better than BMI for metabolic health. Resting heart rate, low and steady wins the race. HRV is basically your stress and recovery dial. Grip strength is simple, powerful, and predictive. Epigenetic age is your biological clock under the hood. Telomere length is your cellular wear and tear marker. Proteomic organ age is next-gen insights into system-level aging. And inflammatory markers, which are your chronic disease smoke alarm. And you don't need to test these every single month and be obsessed about them. Start with the functional ones. They're cheap, actionable, and highly productive. Then layer in molecular markers annually as budget and your curiosity allow. So most people wait for something to break before they take action. But by the time symptoms show up, the fire is already burning. The smartest approach here is always to be proactive. Measure the things that matter. Improve what you can, rinse and repeat. Longevity isn't about living forever. It's about staying strong, sharp, and capable for as long as possible. It's the difference between thriving at 75 versus surviving at 60. Track the right data, train with purpose, and don't forget, if your grip strength is solid and your HRV is high, you're probably on the right track. So thank you for watching this video. Let me know if there's anything else longevity-wise you want to see, and I will catch you in the next one.